Igor Pavlovets, born with only one arm and tiny stunted legs, was one of the first victims of the Chernobyl nuclear explosion of 1986. He's been in England for 2 years, undergoing medical treatment and the fitting of artificial limbs. Igor used to dream of having 2 arms and normal legs like other children. He also dreamed of having a family he could call his own.
He's just part of the family. I mean, he gets very angry when you talk about the past and the fact that he only came 2 years ago. I mean, as far as he's concerned, this family was waiting for him and the past has got to be forgotten.
He still has those dreams, but as he matures, he is growing aware of the huge obstacles in front of him and the ghosts in his past. Igor arrived at Heathrow from Belarus on January the 4th, 1994. He went for treatment to Queen Mary's Roehampton, whose specialists fitted him with a battery-operated arm and a special pair of boots with 5-inch soles. Igor's foster mother is Barbara Bennett. She loves him dearly, and he loves her. But perhaps they'll need more than her devotion and his courage to make his dreams come true. Even in 1994, it was clear that the nuclear fallout had been selective in its attack on the young boy. His top half was growing, his bottom half was not. Sooner or later, Igor's legs would be unable to bear the weight of his trunk. Igor is now 8½. He has started at a new school, William Cobbett Junior School in Surrey. Igor had no education before coming to England and is behind in his learning skills. In addition to normal classes, he attends a special needs unit attached to the main school.
What's he using the coal for? I don't have any.
For buttons.
For his buttons on his jacket.
He could be used for.
Yeah.
In class, Igor is engaging and loves to learn.
He sees the snowman,
Then he's going to go to bed.
Here, where intelligence and liveliness count, his dream of being normal almost comes true.
No, he's only dreaming.
He's dreaming. Do you think he's dreaming, Igor?
No.
You think the snowman really is alive, do you?
Yeah.
Igor is visiting England on medical grounds, and while he is here, he is a ward of the High Court, and he is supported financially by the charity which brought him over, the Chernobyl Children Lifeline. His prosthetic limbs have been funded privately. He is monitored regularly at a growth clinic. He also receives regular checks for cancer of the thyroid gland, which afflicts many children in Belarus.
They've chased that naughty swan away, haven't they?
What?
There, that's it. At the moment he hasn't got his arm because it's gone back, because really the original one was too heavy. The second one again was made to go with these higher boots that just didn't work out. So therefore the arm was really cosmetic and it was too big. So now they've been and seen him at school and they're designing something it's not going to be attractive to look at, but it's going to be functional.
On March the 8th, 1996, Barbara and Igor returned to Queen Mary's Hospital for a new pair of boots.
Put your foot in. No, it's cold.
Set. Put your toes down.
Right, Barbara. Now you can see that I want to make sure that these toes are...
The first thing Alan Stevenson, the prosthetist, has to do is make a mould of Igor's feet.
Good boy. Yes, you can. Just put all your weight on there.
Igor's problem is that while his upper body continues to grow, his legs do not.
What am
That's
I
good.
doing by?
This is going to be a magic shoe.
It's not.
Oh, I hope it doesn't make you...
A Harley Street specialist was consulted about amputation, but advised against it.
He was quite worried that the amputation wasn't the right thing. for several medical reasons, which I don't really understand. But then he turned and said to me, you've chosen him, you've brought what you wanted to bring over, so don't destroy what the little bit that he's got. It needs a lot of thought. But as time went on and the more I thought about it, he's really looking well into his future, and obviously we've got a very bright, happy little boy, and the last thing I want to do is, through our errors, put him in a wheelchair. If it comes that he finishes up in a chair, that's part of life, but the thought that because we wanted to make him look normal, we've in fact made him more disabled would be horrific.
Very gently. Let's do it very gently.
Mum, you pull my leg. Nice one, Alan.
Yeah.
Well done.
It's only a little bit.
One clean foot.
It's only a little bit.
In less than an hour, the positive mould is ready, around which the new boots will be constructed.
There we go.
Oh, look.
Now you can see it's a pretty good replica.
What do you think of that?
We've got a little touching up to do where the bubbles have created little
Oh,
holes.
I've got bubbles.
We've filled them in.
Hot.
And a little toe lead and a bit filling in there. But
Mum,
you can
it's
see
really
the
hot.
The boots, once made, will redistribute Igor's body weight over his deformed feet, so prolonging the life of his legs.
I
You
got
hold it.
hurt.
That's your foot. That's what's going to make your shoe.
So what I'm going to do now is just tidy it all up a bit, make it nice and presentable. You can see the area that he takes the weight bearing on here. So we're going to now
My choice. Why my choice like
Make-
that for?
Because
Make him a
otherwise your
nice-
shoe won't fit.
insole that will distribute the weight, and a pair
will
of
like it.
boots that will cover it. And then I'll talk with our orthopedic workshop to decide.
The first 7 years of Igor's life were spent in the shadow of Chernobyl, in Minsk, the capital of Belarus. He was handed over to state care and grew up at Orphanage Number 1, a home specifically for children born damaged or diseased in the aftermath of the explosion. They are children no one else will take. 10 years on, the flow of abandoned babies is still increasing. Most are mentally handicapped or severely deformed, like Igor. They can stay in state orphanages until they are 4, then they must move to mental institutes or old people's homes. Few survive for long. Igor owes his survival to Dr. Tamara Marashova, the head doctor at the orphanage, where she still cares for 69 handicapped children. She managed to delay Igor's transfer to a mental institute until a way to help him could be found.
Мы получили фотографии где-то год назад, и какой Игорь стал большой, красивый. Конечно, все его мечты осуществляются благодаря тому, что он находится сейчас в хорошей стране, получил настоящую медицинскую помощь, в которой он нуждался. Теперь он полноценный человек, имеет ручку, имеет высокую обувь, в которой он может самостоятельно передвигаться. Теперь ничего не мешает, чтобы сбылись его мечты.
Igor, deformed and alone, dreamed of being able-bodied one day, a normal, active boy with a family like other children. In the orphanage, he told these dreams to his favourite nurse, Lily Gringaus. Lily had no children of her own, and Igor took the place of the son she never had. Now retired and living alone, Lily has turned for comfort to religion and believes that one day she and Igor will be reunited. She sends him letters and little presents when she can, determined he must never abandon his Russian roots or forget the role she played in his life. Recent photos of Igor have arrived from England. Lily has not been well recently. She's had 2 heart attacks, and any link with the boy she calls her own brings her great joy. It's the first time Lily has seen Igor enjoying his new life in England, or seen the person who has taken her place in his affections, his foster mother Barbara. But Igor will have nothing to do with Russia. Despite Barbara's pleas, he refuses to speak Russian or acknowledge his past.
Gentle, gentle, there's a ceiling underneath. It's like Baywatch.
What?
Baywatch.
Yeah, baby.
We've never met Lily. When we went to the hospital, we met some of the nurses and we met Tamara, but I've never actually met Lily. And he'd been with us probably 6 or 7 months when he started to talk of Lily. And then the first parcel had arrived and she'd said who she was. And then I said I'd like to meet Lily. And at first he was all for me meeting Lily till he realised that we had to fly back, that he had to make the effort. And then he decided that wasn't a good idea. Cool.
Igor is unable to go to Belarus, so invitations have been sent to Lily to come to England in the summer with Tamara Marashova, the first time either of them will have seen Igor for nearly 3 years.
I'm going to put pyjamas on. Right, it's 10 o'clock. Come on, television on. I know, but it's... Oh, he's a good boy and I'll tuck you in. Which switches it off? This one? Alright, come then. Who are you cuddling? Teddy or dinosaur?
Dinosaur.
Right, night night kiss.
I know.
Do you love me?
Yeah.
How much?
1,000.
Thousands.
100. This is the whole world.
As big as the whole world. That's alright then. I'll see you in the morning then.
Yeah.
Every May, Roy and Barbara Bennett go to Spain. Igor feels comfortable here with his foster mum and dad. As a face in a crowd, he can almost forget his handicaps and enjoy the feeling that he is the same as everyone else, a carefree holidaymaker taking a stroll in the warm Mediterranean sunshine.
The nicest thing is that everybody that's been here before has remembered Igor. And also he's using his Spanish this time. He knows how to say hello and goodbye and mate, he says amigo. So it's nice to hear him. But then one of the waiters said he would teach him a few words and his answer quite quickly was no, because Mummy will send me to school if I learn too many words. But on the whole, it's relaxing for us. I mean, it's sort of my time when I literally like to do nothing. And it's just nice to watch him blend in and feel so secure in at home.
Igor has waited a long time for this moment. The first time he's ever paddled in the sea. He relishes each new experience, especially those that challenge his spirit of adventure and stimulate his vivid imagination.
I don't feel that I've had him 2 years. I feel as though I've always had him. I mean, his dream was always in the orphanage that somebody would come along and get him, and it's just all slotted together like the jigsaw puzzle. We were down the restaurant one evening and one of the things was fish and he wanted some of the fish, so I gave him a little bit and he had a bone in his and I said, "Oh, put the bone on the side." And he put it at the side and then he looked at it and he said, "If I eat this bone, what'll happen?" And I said, "Well, fish bones are difficult. Sometimes they get caught, but sometimes they go into your tummy." He said, "Well, if I eat it and it goes into my tummy, will it help my bones to grow?" He knows now that he's got a bone missing in his leg. He doesn't know it's the tibia bone and he doesn't know how important, but he knows it's missing. So he's now latched onto the idea perhaps if he ate bones that they would grow and help him to grow. Which one first? Left or right?
Igor has brought his new boots to Spain, but is reluctant to wear them, remembering the heavy, awkward boots he had last time.
When you get to that minibus, you'll be able to get on easier.
The new boots he's got now are lovely because all the height's inside, but he's having to adjust from walking how he wanted to walk, just to move, to now putting the weight properly on his feet. So certainly the left one, there's problems. He gets very tired very quickly because with the build-up inside, obviously the boot is heavier and harder. And there are going to be problems, but he's persevering and he knows that, you know, like he said to me, I have to get them to work because that's why I've come to England. So he knows that it's important and he knows it's a step to the future.
Part of that future is finding his own identity in a confusing new world. Igor has recently talked to Barbara about changing his name.
Out of the blue, he came up with this name, Michael Bennett, and quite often he'll throw it in that he's going to be Michael Bennett. I don't know what he's actually thinking, and it's something we don't discuss with him anyway, but I think it's a way that he feels he belongs, and certainly his way of saying, don't forget I'm here.
It's like a little church in Kenya. There'll be a bell in the top of that.
He is our life now. I mean, everything centres around him and give him the pleasure that he deserves.
As the holiday nears its end, there are mixed emotions in the Bennett family. Joy that Igor has mastered his new boots, but anxiety that Lily's visit is beginning to loom.
I know that I'm going to have to sort of take a deep breath and take a step back, but really, I want it to happen for Igor. I don't think Igor really knows whether he wants her to come or not. And I mean, she's an old lady, she's seen him grow up, and I think it's important that she sees where he's living, that the dreams that the pair of them have had are happening. And I think she'll go back with so many memories and not have to sort of sit and think, should he have come to England? What is he doing in England? Has it really happened like they're telling me? She will see it all.
Igor is determined to remain with Barbara. Lily is determined Igor should return to her. In this human triangle, someone will have to give way. High summer in the English countryside. Igor has joined the Godalming Cubs, who are spending a weekend under canvas. This is only the second time Igor has been away from his foster parents.
Igor! Aaron, haven't you moved so crazy?
It's the start of a busy and exciting day out of doors.
The first time he went, he was very, very nervous and wasn't sure. And when he knew he could go the second time, he wasn't really sure. And he was coming up with all silly little excuses why he shouldn't go. And I decided that I thought it was a good thing for him. And he's beginning to get aware that he is different, that he is disabled, and he's conscious of it when he meets crowds of different people, which is why I think camp and things like that are good for him.
It's a wonderful traditional English breakfast. Just the thing for growing cubs embarking on an activity-packed day with non-stop fun and games. For Igor, this normality is part of his dreams.
just going to leave that like that, are you? Somebody's going to have to clean that up for you, aren't they? Right, Christian.
Yes, you empty the pig.
Igor is in his element. He is English, doing very English things.
Godalming District, camp alert.
It is a proud moment for the small Russian boy to be chosen to unfurl the Union Jack at flag break and give a traditional salute. But for the first time, Igor is showing signs of self-consciousness. He was reluctant to undress in front of the other boys and has opted to swim in a t-shirt and socks.
All of a sudden he's got very conscious of his toes. Why has he only got 3 on one foot and 2 on the other? And Sunday I'd said, we're going to a barbecue and there's a swimming pool. Well, I thought he wasn't going in the water because there was a lot of children and it was 3 foot deep and they were sort of running and jumping in, so he wouldn't have been able to have coped with that. But people remarked how different, how quiet he was. And then when we got to the bottom of it, he didn't want to show his toes. And I'd said to him there was a little girl there that had been burnt, all of her shoulder and her arm. And I said, well, she's in her swimsuit. But he quickly said, yes, but she's normal. It's hurt, but she's normal. Mine aren't normal. But lately, over the last month, I've certainly been aware that he knows he's different, he feels different, and he does get very angry sometimes. And his anger is really heavy at times. He gets angry with himself, he gets angry that he stopped growing, and it's all sort of rolled into one. And I think also some of it is because he doesn't know how to express what he's trying to say. As far as he's concerned, he's from Godalming and he's English, and that is it. I mean, if you discuss anything different, he gets very agitated. But as far as he's concerned, he belongs here, and that's it.
Easter in Belarus. In the same way that the Orthodox Church was always a refuge, a sanctuary in communist times, so today it is a comfort in the aftermath of Chernobyl. Countless lives have been torn apart by the explosion at Chernobyl and the cloud of radiation which it released. Young and old search for faith to help them make sense of what is a plague of biblical proportions. Mogilev is the most polluted city in Belarus. A third of the region is tainted with radioactive fallout. Before Chernobyl, thyroid gland cancer was virtually unknown. At the last count, there had been nearly 500 registered cases, most of them children. Innocent children are dying in increasing numbers. Parents live in constant fear that their child will be next. The true number of casualties, both living and dead, will never be known. What is known is that even a brief period of respite away from the contamination can restore and strengthen the immune system, especially for children. One of these children, Olga Urkova, has just heard that she is going to make a second respite trip to England.
Поедет в Англию, она увидит Лондон. Мы все так...
In 1994, Olga came to England with the charity Chernobyl Children Lifeline, which brings hundreds of children over each year for a month of healthy eating and a clean environment.
И надеемся... Едь.
Olga's English host family have just invited her back to Shrewsbury for a whole year.
Мы все ждем тебя.
The news brings an inevitable mixture of emotions.
Все хорошо. Ну, Олечка, ну не плачь, ну, зайчик, не плачь, не надо, садись.
The clash between opportunity and separation is resolved by Olga's fractured family.
Ну, во второй поездке, вы знаете, мне позвонили из Минска. Я боюсь, как чего. Но мне говорят, зачем ты боишься, посылай, пускай, говорит, ребенок там целый год будет учиться. И поэтому я уже согласилась, и сейчас я довольна, что она едет. Матрешки эти на игрушечки.
Olga's grandmother has brought her up since her mother died and her father remarried. Money is scarce, but they've managed to buy simple presents for the host family, which they place at the top of the single suitcase, which is all Olga has for a whole year in England.
Я не рассчитывала, что... Даже не думала о том, что меня еще раз туда пригласят на целый год, и поэтому я была очень обрадована и удивлена этим.
По ней буду очень скучать. Когда Оля будет говорить, буду плакать, потому что надолго уезжает. Я буду, знаете, буду переживать, встречу ли я ее.
So the long journey to England begins. Olga sets off to a world of new experiences. For those left behind, the harsh reality of living with the legacy of Chernobyl continues. Surrey, July.
Right, well, welcome all of Year 3 to our sports morning this morning. Lovely weather, so it's going to be super. Right, we've got 5 different events this morning, so we hope you're ready for them. The first one is the bounce and shoot. Then we have the hockey ball dribble.
Igor is captain of his team at his school's sports day.
Spoon. No eggs today. And then we have the beanbag shuttle. And finally, Miss McFarlane's water obstacle race.
He came in from school with a face quite long and just took one look at me and said he hated the world, he hated living, and he stomped off upstairs. He went to bed and he was still angry, and what had happened, his girlfriend had dumped him. And one of the other boys had said that there was no good her going, there wasn't a future with Igor, he was only going to be little and he'd make a better boyfriend. So he'd been dumped. And he was really distraught over this. But he went off to school and they were friends when he came home the next day, but she's not his girlfriend anymore.
So, up we get him.
He hasn't said a lot about sports day, he's quite secretive, but I've noticed he'd been doing some practicing of balancing sticks on his cones and jumping over things. And I was quite sort of worried of how he'd fit in, worried how his team, being in a team, if he was going to let them down and that sort of thing. So it was nice to sort of see that he did everything. It was nice to see that some of the things they compromised and shortened for him to keep his team. And again, you know, they won a couple, they were second a couple of times and they only came third once. So that was really good because it was nice for the other children. But it was nice to see him just being part of a team and doing the same.
So you're going to go around the first one and the second one and then back. Yes?
Well, run.
Well, with your ball and your hockey stick. Going to go for it? Good man.
It's easy to be proud of him. I mean, whatever he does it's a challenge for him, so it's nice, but you just hold back now. I mean, he doesn't like pampered and treated any differently, but inside you do. And I think everybody does anyway. I mean, you watch the faces of the other parents and they're just as proud.
Igor's team finished a creditable fourth overall. On the outside, he showed his characteristic confidence and determination. As the summer holidays approached, Igor knew that he had to face a very different challenge. This time, one deep inside him. Within a month, he would have to meet his old nurse, Lily, and confront the ghosts of his past.
So have you enjoyed yourself, Year 3? Yeah!
Late summer. In just a week, Lily will be in England.
He knows that Lily's coming and he's quite happy, but again, every time you mention it, I'm not going back with her. And then I say, no, you're not going back with her. She's coming to see you and see where you're living. And that's fine. And it's one of the things that I keep saying, you've got to remember your Russian words, because Lily will be sad if you can't talk to her, because this is going to be the big thing. She doesn't speak any English, so it's all got to be done from an interpreter. And I think she'll be devastated if he doesn't talk a little. But at the moment, he says he's going to really try. So I'm just hoping that when they meet, it'll sort of, his memory's quite good, so I'm hoping that as the days go on, it'll trigger his language, and then it might well be the key to start getting him to learn his Russian again.
Antonia, come in with plate.
A barbecue in a downpour. Olga is getting used to the English way of life. She's been in Shrewsbury for 3 months now, one of 14 children from Belarus spending a year in England.
2 Russians on the barbecue, we'll end up with chicken Kiev. You know that, don't you?
What did you want, Antonia?
The money to pay for Olga's airfare was raised by her host mother, Julie West.
When she came in 1994, she looked distinctly unwell. When she came in 1996, she didn't look as unwell. I think that a lot of that was because she'd had the respite visit in 1994, which I understand does them a tremendous amount of good. She still had that pale grey pallor that they all tend to have, and her hair didn't have a healthy shine. She's got beautiful hair, but it just didn't look healthy. So we got them back, and after 4 weeks, she again started to get colour in her cheeks, and her hair no longer falls out in clumps. It's got a beautiful, healthy shine to it. The difference is amazing.
Once a month, on a Sunday, Olga talks to her grandmother in Belarus.
Хорошо, передавай всем привет.
The time is going so fast. Already a quarter of her year in England is gone. In a mere 9 months, she'll be back in Belarus.
Хорошо.
I think I'm going to feel it more than she does, because at the end of the day, she misses her grandmother dreadfully. She misses her family. That's evident when she phones them. We normally have tears at the end of the conversation. She's going to go back to her family, and they might be poor, and they might live in dreadful surroundings, but at the end of the day, she loves them dearly. I hope that the visit will have done her tremendous good. I think it has. I mean, she looks so healthy now. And her English is superb, how it's come on in 3 months, sorry. But I think for me it's going to be very hard, and for my children it's going to be very hard, because they've got used to having this big sister figure around the house.
I'm very lucky. I like Julie, Antonia, and Han, and everybody, because I think they're my second family.
She is part of our family. I dread to think of the day in 1997, on the 9th of April, when she's got to go back. But in the meantime, there's a few special days ahead. We'll enjoy those while we can, and just not think ahead that far.
It's August. Lily will be here in a few days' time to see her little boy. But the little boy Lily remembers has changed dramatically.
I think she'll be coming over thinking she's going to see her little boy and be able to cuddle him and do all this, and he's beginning to outgrow that. I mean, when he first came, you could cuddle him from morning till night, but that's gone now. I mean, there are times when he just won't have it, and you can tease him, but he's learnt. I mean, he's not a little toddler. He's learnt to behave and think like a 9-year-old, and I think it's going to be a shock, quite a big shock for her. But I just hope that they bond and that he relates quite lovingly to her, because that would be awfully sad if he didn't.
Do you remember what hello is in Russian?
Danai.
Dash.
Danai.
I'm just hoping that when he actually sees her, he'll just run off and greet her. But I don't know whether that'll happen yet. I mean, that's what I would like to see, but whether it will, I just don't know at this stage.
They're coming at 12:43. That means that Lily's plane comes out of the sky and onto the runway at 12:43. Look, okay? So we'll go and get some flowers. We'll go and buy some flowers.
The Belavia flight from Minsk delivers Lily on time.
Mummy, can I buy a toy?
What about these? Because you could carry these. I think you'll carry those a bit, because you've got to carry two.
Yeah.
What about that one? Because you could see what it is then. Yeah?
Yeah, Mummy, if
In a minute.
there's a toy, can I buy it?
Come on, don't be awkward.
I'm going to see the toy.
Come and get these first.
Lily has arrived, bringing with her her hopes and dreams of the last 3 years. With Lily is orphanage head Dr. Tamara Marashova, who battled against the odds to help Igor realise his dreams.
Go on, quick, there she is. The lady behind
Mom,
the red dress.
When she gets to the middle.
All right.
Don't push me.
Go to her. You go to her.
Привет. Ай. Да я на тебя посмотрю. Как вы поцелуй меня. Ой, Игорюша. Ой, сладкий, мой хороший, мой маленький. Ой, Барбатуля моя дорогая. Ой, мой мальчик. Золотулька мой сладкий. Мой сладкий, скажи Лиля. Скажи Лиля. Спасибо, мамочка. Будешь говорить, мамочка? Да, это Барбара. Барбара. Добрый день, добрый день. Здравствуйте. Здравствуйте. Умница, мой золотой мальчик.
Igor's past and present worlds have come together.
Remember her?
Okay.
Спасибо.
Barbara's worst fears were not realised.
Идем, мой хороший. Иди, мой.
Hold her hand first.
Tamara is staying at the Chernobyl Children Lifeline headquarters. Lily and Natalia, the interpreter, have been invited to stay at a country house nearby.
And this is where you sleep.
Умница, мой золотой мальчик.
Bed.
Your bed.
Можно сюда ставить что-нибудь?
This is your room.
Ваша комната. Так, это, Игорь, тебе подарок от Лили. Разверните. Сейчас развернем.
Careful.
Это тебе, Игоречек, подарок от Лили. Сейчас, мамочка. Так.
Это тебе музыка.
It's the music for your tape.
Да.
What'd you say?
А это тебе шоколад.
Chocolate.
Вот это тебе шоколад, да.
What do you say?
Лев Николаевич Толстой. Учение Христа. Изложение для детей.
Children's
Вот
Bible.
видишь, дедушка Лев Николаевич Толстой для детей написал, чтобы дети учили про Бога.
Very
Дети
famous
учили.
Russian writer wrote
Да.
a Bible for children.
А вот это мы будем с тобой учить буквы. Будем с тобой играть.
Within minutes, Lily has covered her bed with religious books and tracts, with Russian cassettes, letters and maps, an overwhelming and unwelcome gesture of tokens from a past existence.
Это тебе лучше показать на цветном.
Finally, a totally unexpected document. She produces her will.
На квартиру, она будет твоя.
She made a will and she wants her flat. In the will, she writes that when she dies, her flat will pass to Igor. So it's a will. It's a copy of her will.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a special piece of paper.
Скажите,
But
чем
if you
она,
go to live in Russia,
кто ее
You
заверил?
can live in Lily's flat.
Here.
Не
in
эту,
Russia.
мою,
Just
в
for
которой
you.
когда-нибудь будешь жить.
What about the one live in Russia?
Well, when you're a very
Это
big
давай
boy,
лучше вот
A
сюда.
grand gesture
Так, не
that has
надо,
fallen
хорошо?
totally
Вот сюда,
flat.
вот в эту положим.
Come here. Listen, I'm going to take the children home, right? You're going to stay here with Lily and Natalia, and then after tea, either I'll come and get you or somebody will run you home and you're going to go. Lily was completely different to what I thought she was going to be, and I knew that I was going to have to take a step back, but I didn't realise I was going to have to be sort of completely off the scene. Which was sad in a way, really, because there was so much I wanted to try and find a lot of his background and how he'd learnt to do different things. But she just wasn't interested. It was her little boy and that was it. Bye. We'd got an interpreter over to help with the language, and she was quite politely told there was no need to translate and that God would help her and Igor and he would remember his Russian.
Карандаш салатовый. Давай скажем, салатовый. Молодец. Карандаш салатовый. Молодец мой. Молодец мой умничка.
Lily's mission to re-educate Igor begins on day one.
Красный. Карандаш. Красный. Давай, мамочка. Карандаш. Красный. Красный. Скажи, красный карандаш. Красный карандаш.
The iron determination which Lily used to nurture Igor years ago is now used to make him remember his roots.
Все умеешь, Игоречек, все умеешь. Серые штаны, серые. Молодец. У Игоря желтый рисунок. Желтый рисунок. У Игоря синий рисунок. Синий рисунок. А что у Лили, посмотри, у Лили черное платье, черная юбка. Посмотри, вот здесь. Вот.
It becomes too much to bear, and there is no respite. Finally, Igor can take no more.
Биби, покажи мне, где сигнал, где? Би. Где сигнал? Покажи, Игорь. Покажи, где сигнал. Покажи, мой хороший. Покажи мне, где сигнал. Покажи, где сигнал, мамочка. Покажи. Игоречек. Все. Покажи мне, где сигнал, Игоречек. Да, я поведу машину. Покажи. Научи меня, как вести машину. Я поведу машину. Чего?
He refused to use any of his Russian with her. And I think it was just the fact that he wasn't the little boy that had come to England. He was so different. He'd grown, his knowledge, his interest, the things he could do. I think if I'd pushed myself into the situation, it would have been difficult for him, and he'd got enough problems just coping with somebody that had meant a lot, trying to mean a lot, that he didn't really want.
The longest week did eventually end, and Lily returned home. As for Igor, in a curious way, her visit brought a kind of release.
He talks differently when he talks about Minsk now. He doesn't talk with the fear that he had or the reluctance, and quite often out of the blue he'll come out with different things that happened. So I think for both of us it's put sort of Ghost to sleep, if you like.
The world must never be allowed to forget Chernobyl. The only monument to those who have suffered is this small statue in a park in Minsk. The world must never be allowed to forget those who died, but nor should it be allowed to forget those who have survived, those who have to cope with the consequences, who have to find ways to reconcile the reality of their broken lives with their continuing dreams.
I wish when I was big and drove motorbike. I have 2 arms when I was born. Really tall. Really, really tall. About 15 tall.
The wish would be for him to have his arm and to have long legs, and I really don't think it's going to happen like that now. I did in the beginning. So really we've just got to battle and let him enjoy what he's got and pick up the pieces when he starts to lose it now. I think the role's going to be the whole reversal. The problem with the arm is that he needs a shoulder, which he hasn't got. And I mean, his latest idea is to put a bolt through his shoulder, because if he's got a bolt stuck in there with a couple of screws, then he can put anything on, which just isn't practical. But that's Igor. So I think we're going to build him so far, and I think possibly in his teens we're going to start coming back down the ladder. But I think at least we'll have given him his dreams, and he'll have his dreams to live with.
If you'd like more information on how you can help, please write to Igor, Box 8000, Birmingham, B1 2JN. Please enclose a stamped addressed envelope.